What's going on, everybody? We took a trip to Costco. I saw these bad boys come in. Are they worth it? Hey everybody, Scott Oden coming at you. Today we're going to talk a little bit about these Kirkland signature wedges. I think these things were always interesting. I did see these before at Costco and I was interested to see what they were all about. But then I had a student come in and he had gotten new wedges. And this is something I talk with players a lot about, is wedges. And you know what? I was so impressed with how he was hitting them and how they were reacting when he was hitting the ball that I said, you know what? I want to see these things and I want to try them out and see what they're going to do. So we're going to do that and go through it. But before we do that, make sure you click that subscribe button. We're going to have more coming up with some gear and things like that, and more to help you with your game, including short game. So if you get these wedges, you're going to need to know how to use them, and we will do that more on the channel here. So make sure you check that out and click that subscribe button below. All right, so we're going to go into the wedges. So disclaimer, I went and bought these myself, my own money, went and bought them. No sponsorship, no nothing. Just went to the Costco, got them at the store, and said, you know what, we're going to use these wedges and try them out. So when I'm getting wedges, there's a couple of things that I'm going to look for. So the first thing is, you know, what are you getting with the wedges? Well, first thing is, when you get this set of wedges, what you're getting here with Kirkland signature wedges, all right, is you are getting 3 wedges for the price of $159.99, so plus tax, you know, so it's about, you know, here in Illinois, you're looking at like 175 bucks or something like that. Now, that is actually a really good deal if they are any good. The wedges I have Titleist Vokey wedges. I have a little bit older, the SM6s. Those are the ones I like. Those cost about $140 per wedge. Okay, so much more expensive, almost getting the price of about a wedge and a quarter. You're getting all 3 of them. Now when you get these things, you're getting 3 lofts. You are getting a 56, you're getting a 60, and you are getting a 52. So you're getting kind of a lob, a gap, and a sand wedge in the set. Now you are going to get a club that, you know what, to be honest with you, I think it's pretty well made when I look at it. You know, my initial impressions of the club, you are getting a club that has a steel shaft in it. This is a club that has a true, you know, a Tour Velvet grip, just kind of your standard grip. That's not to be unexpected because it's pretty cheap grip, but it's the one I use anyway, so for me that worked out well. But you're getting what's called their Wedge Flex from True Temper as you're going through. So that's something that, you know, kind of standard in the wedge game, where they have this Wedge Flex shaft that they put in. And, you know, if you're somebody that swings a lot more violently and aggressively, you might need to look into something that would change that out. I typically play with KBS shafts, and so I might have to switch that out on this wedge if it was something that I was interested in keeping this going. So let's talk a little bit more about the face. So when we go into the wedge, you're going to see that this wedge has a milled club face. So what does that mean? If you ever look at your wedge, you're going to see that you have the normal kind of forging on the face. And then if you look really closely, you're going to see that almost looks kind of like some little extra grooves, like they were kind of doing a little sanding on the face. That is what the milling is. Now, that's just to give a little bit extra space for some matter to get displaced. The grooves, the milling on the face, what that is all about is when I'm hitting a shot, if I have, let's say, water or if I have grass, you're looking for a place for it to go. Think of like your tires on your car. They have the treads in the tires. That's for water and things to go into those treads so that the rubber will keep contact with the road. Same thing here, the grooves, the milling, that is to get rid of or give you some space for all that junk to go so you can keep the metal having really good contact with the golf ball. And that gives you a lot of friction and it gives you a little bit of extra spin. So just something that I like to see when I get a wedge is something like that. But, you know, first glances as I'm using the wedge, what we did was I took it out and I did some short game testing and I did some yardage testing. If I'm getting wedges there's two things I'm looking for. One, I want to have a wedge loft that is going to fit the yardage that I need. Okay, so I have in my traditional wedge set, I have a 50, a 54, and a 60 within my SM6s. Now the 50, the goal is to hit it about 130 yards in the air. The 54 is to hit it about 115 in the air, and the 60 is to hit it about 80 or 90 in the air. I typically hit it about 80 on the carry. Now, that is what I pick those yardages at, or those lofts at, to hit those yardages. The next thing that I look at then, as I'm going through a wedge, is I'm going to look at how the club has got its grind. So when you look at wedges, you're going to see that this back part, they can grind that differently, and you also get bounce, and you can have different sizes of the flange that goes into the wedge that you can look at. And those things are going to help you with, if you're somebody that when you're chipping, you need to get the face to sit open, or you are somebody that hits the ground a lot, you need the bounce to engage. Those are the types of things I'm looking at, and I'm trying to match those things up to give me my set of wedges. So that's what I was taking it out to look at and look for when I was using it on my tests. So let's talk a little bit about it. What did I think? Now, disclaimer, this is just a human test. We're not doing any robotic testing. This is my feel, me trying them out, seeing what they're doing. So, you know, were there mishits? Yeah, I was using the awesome golf software. If I hit one really bad, if I chunked one, I did throw that shot out so it wouldn't mess with the averages. So what we get is, when I went to Yardage Test first, I wanted to do that because I wanted to see how the club and the ball reacted with a brand new fresh face without hitting any golf shots. So what did I see? Well, when I hit this 60-degree wedge, what I found was when I have a fresh club face, I was hitting the ball lower with more consistent height, and I was hitting it with more spin, and I was actually getting more distance than with my SM6. Now, you might say, hey, is that all you look at? Yes, I look at how am I launching it, what's the carry number, am I getting what I want, and am I getting the amount of spin that I want? And if I can maximize all those things, I feel like I got a good match. When I'm hitting these shots, the biggest thing that you'll see is the newness of the wedge face is a massive deal. When you have a new wedge, that club can grip the ball, and it typically launches it, and it gives it a little more spin, but it also, because it's launching lower, you get a little bit more yardage without sacrificing that spin. When you have used a wedge for a little bit, and my wedge is, you know, about a year old, when you're using them, you actually start to wear them down, and what happens is that ball will ride up on the face. So you get some inconsistent launch, a little bit inconsistent spin, everything just gets a little bit tougher to guess. And again, we're kind of talking about a couple hundred RPMs, a couple degrees, but if you're really trying to be accurate with your wedge, that can be an issue. So with my 60-degree wedge, what I actually found when I used the Kirkland, I was hitting it almost 10 yards farther in the air with a lower launch, more spin, which was awesome. Then I switched over to the 54 in my current set and the 56 when we're looking at the Kirkland. Now, here's where I would expect to see some difference, because there is some differences in the loft. Now, when you're looking at about 3 degrees in between clubs, that is going to be your typical kind of gapping, and so that should be about 10 yards. Here we're at 2, so I would expect about 8 or 9 yards longer with that 54-degree wedge. With that said too, my 54 and my gap wedge at 50 are clubs that are hit a lot less than my 60, because I chip with my 60, hit bunker shots, things like that. So we shouldn't see them worn down as much. And then when I hit the shots, the wedges felt great from Kirkland, but exactly what we thought. I hit the ball lower. Everything was kind of similar. I launched it similar with these clubs, and I hit the Kirkland shorter, again, because it's 2 degrees weaker with that loft. Now, that's good news, but if I was trying to get my set exactly dialed in, I would really think I would want that 130, 115 yard mark, I should say, and trying to get that club to launch a little farther. So that would be the one downside I say I would have with these wedges, is you just can't dial in the lofts. Now, I could do some bending, but then that starts to mess with the bounce, things like that. But I would just like the ability to be able to dial it in, but again, that's also what you're paying for in the wedge. So we switch it up then to go to the 52. Again, the same thing, about a 2-degree difference, and we're seeing about 7-8 yards in difference in carry. But again, launch, spin, everything was about the same. Then we took these out to our short game area, tried a few shots there. And so for these, I'm only pretty much going to be using the 60-degree. That's what I chip with most times. I did try the 56. It worked really well. Something that if you're used to it, you might try it, but it does come off just a little hot for me. I'm not quite used to chipping with that. So the 60, I used that, and I have to say, it performed really well. I like how this wedge has a much bigger flange than my current 60. And I have about 10 degrees of bounce on my current 60. They don't tell you the bounce on this one, but you know, it's got a good amount of bounce. I could definitely tell that. I think it's got way more than my 60, partially too because when you have this wider flange on the bottom, it effectively plays with more bounce. So I felt that when I was hitting shots, even if I caught them a couple inches or a couple centimeters heavy, that club would slide through the grass. That was nice. It sits well when I have to open the face up. I like that. When I had to hit it out of the rough, I really like that. The one area that I found would have to adjust is out of a bunker. This is a lot more bounce than I'm used to, and this really wide sole, I had to play it eventually more straight face than I even was used to, and that's how I could get it to dig a little bit. Otherwise, I was airmailing them over the green because I was just bouncing so much through the sand. Now, to be fair, we're in a drought. It's very, very warm here. Sand is very firm, so take that with a grain of salt as you're going. But the feel of the wedge, I love having wedges that feel very heavy. This one feels extremely heavy. That might be a bad thing for some players if you're looking for lighter clubs, but part of that too is you could actually adjust the grip size, make the grip thicker, and make the club feel lighter. That's just something to go with swing weights. But you are looking at a very, very quality wedge. I was extremely impressed. And the thing I think I like the most is it is extremely well. It could hit some spinners. I'm not particularly good at that shot, but when I did catch one and it was like, oh yeah, that one's going to spin, it did spin, like those short little chip spinner type shots that you see. It did do that, but I thought it was very, very good. I think it's very user-friendly wedge too, but it's also really, really high quality. So the thing I think I like the most is, what I learned is, especially in our full swing tests, is wedges are something that I think people need to replace more often. They're not replacing them enough. Tour players, you know, they'll replace their driver, their irons, maybe once every year, once every 18 months. Their wedges, they replace every other week. Some people do it every week. They are always getting new wedges because it is so important to have a fresh club face. And you can see when you're hitting a fresh club face, that golf ball gets ripped up. You can see the residue of the ball in the face. That is something that you have a lot of control when you are hitting those shots. That's partly how pros are so deadly with their wedges and their short game. And I think that this is a quality wedge that, you know what, hey, for 170 bucks after tax, I'm thinking, yeah, I could switch it out. And if I like these lofts, I could switch these out every year and get new wedges and have a very fresh set, and I'm not going to be breaking the bank to do that. So that's the thing I think I like. I was very impressed with how it performs. I'm actually going to try out, especially the 60, a little bit more. We'll see about the other ones. I think I really like my yardages, and I would maybe bend them, but I really was impressed. If they could just customize a little bit, that would be nice, but very impressed. If it's something where you like those yardages, you're looking for wedges, check these out. These are awesome. These are the Kirkland signatures, just available at Costco. Go ahead, see what you think. And if you already have them, comment down below. Let us know what you think about them as well. And also ask those questions and what you see here. So thanks for watching. That's what I think. Kirkland signatures. We're going to come back more with some of the other Kirkland stuff. We're going to talk about that a little bit in some tests because I get a lot of questions if they're worth it. So make sure you click that subscribe button and we will have those videos coming up. And as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.